Hello there, White Sox fans. Yes, number one, I am alive. I've been wanting to do videos for so long, but it just hasn't been in the cards. But I'm coming to you with an opening day roster prediction video, which I always want to do earlier in spring training, and then it ends up getting pushed back, and then it's not as difficult. So I do want to acknowledge the many mistakes I've already made. That when I was going to do this weeks ago, that have already come to not be, which is Dylan Cease is not on the team anymore. That's a bummer. White Sox did get a lot of good depth, I think. Lots of young, talented players coming back that I think we'll see probably sooner than later. So I'm still going to miss him though, and I thought maybe he would have higher demand as we approach the trade deadline, maybe even a month or so before the trade deadline, if some team really wanted to just wow Chris Getz. But I definitely saw Cease starting the season, at least with the White Sox. Also assumed that even though I didn't love it, I assumed Michael Kopech would be like the number 3 or 4 starter. He's been moved to the bullpen, as we know, and certainly didn't guess at all that that Garrett Crochet would end up in the White Sox rotation. I know that was the design for a long time, but I didn't think it was going to happen. And not only did it happen, but he's been named the opening day starter, which really did not see that one coming. I think it's more of a marketing move than anything, because the White Sox are trying to show that, hey, we still actually have players you remember. We didn't trade them all away. I predicted right away that Dominic Fletcher would be our opening day right fielder, and I don't know if that's been announced, but it's very likely. He's not really had a great spring training, so I was starting to doubt myself there. I thought maybe he played himself out of that role, but I think he's still very much in the mix, if not definitely the opening day right fielder for the White Sox. Okay, so I think that's all that I have completely got right or wrong that I would have predicted at the beginning of the year. Let's jump into this. We're going to keep building onto this file that I started years ago. And I'm surprised to not see last year on there. So maybe I didn't do one of these videos last year. The injured list. Here's some good news. White Sox don't have very many injured players right now. We've had a very healthy spring. I think Matt Foster is maybe the only person that's on our injured list. I'll check that during this video. It's also kind of neat to look back and we can see the evolution of the team, because for the first time, I'm not predicting Yasmani Grandal as our catcher, as he's moved on. He is with the Pittsburgh Pirates now. Martin Maldonado will be our opening day catcher. Great pickup for the veteran presence that you want to have guiding a young pitching staff. Really nice pickup, I thought. I'm a little confused. I was confused about picking him up after the White Sox also picked up Max Stassi, because we have some really great catching prospects that might be blocked now. But I don't know. We'll have to take a look. See, will we carry 3 catchers possibly to start the season? As we look at the roster crunch, we'll dive into it. Andrew Vaughn, of course, is our starting first baseman. He had what I believe to be an underwhelming year last year. He wasn't outright bad or anything like that, but I wanted him to take the next step up in his progression. And I feel like he just kind of plateaued. He kind of he didn't really move forward at all. This year, in my opinion, is a big year. Is he actually going to be improving, or is this the guy we have? And we've had such luck where we go from Frank Thomas to Paul Konerko to Jose Abreu. First base has been locked down for decades because we've had such great first basemen. Vaughn is supposed to be the next in that line. Is he going to be? That's a lot of pressure. That's a ton of pressure. That's Hall of Fame level pressure. But yeah, we'll see. Second base, we have Nicky Lopez. I was so happy to see the White Sox grab him. I'm not expecting anything offensively from him. Same is going to be true of our shortstop, Paul DeJong. However, he has actually been swinging a pretty hot bat in spring training. I know spring training isn't the regular season. The ball carries better in Arizona, but I've still been pretty impressed because I'm expecting just about nothing from DeJong and Lopez from the offensive side. Definitely defensive upgrades. And the team actually might have a shot at being exciting if we get continued improvement from Yoan Moncada. Oh boy, we had Eloy in left before. I'm putting him here at DH, of course. Eloy has changed his stance. He is hitting the ball really well this spring. I'm excited to see him take the next step. And I've been saying this for way too long. He's running out of time. But Yoan Moncada has had one really good year and a lot of disappointing years. Will Yoan come back? I'm hopeful that he will have a really good year this year. And if we have Luis doing what Luis does, Eloy and Yoan all performing really well at the upper levels, and maybe Vaughn takes that next step, not even in a big way, but just a little bit better, at least offensively, this will be a fun team to watch. Okay, so going back left field, we have Benintendi. Because I just wrote Nintendo. He's a guy that, again, another guy that's a rebound candidate. He was meh. He was average. I don't know what his actual WAR was for the year, but if it was 0, or somewhere between 0 and 1, I would have believed it. He was very much a replacement level player last year. I would love to see him get back to where he used to be. Of course, we have Luis in center. In right field, I mentioned it earlier, Dominic Fletcher. The White Sox brought a lot of veterans to camp on non-guaranteed deals, spring training invites, including Kevin Pillar, Brett Phillips, Mike Moustakas. And I really thought that none of those guys had a chance of making it. And I think it's true of most of them, to be honest with you. Brett Phillips has not had a great spring. I don't think he was likely to challenge for a position anyway. It was more of an audition stage for him. But Kevin Pillar has played really well. He shows that he's an older guy, of course, at this point. He's a veteran, but he might be able to make this team as the fourth outfielder. In fact, I might be giving him the edge right now. Just nice to have depth with a more unproven Fletcher out there in right field. We'll take a look at that. When looking at our bench, who is our utility player? Zach Remillard is the first name that comes to mind, so I might just go with it. Because I don't know if Mike Moustakas is going to make it in. He is, to be honest with you, he has not looked that bad. He's been actually defensively surprised me, what I've seen out of him this spring, but I still don't think he's going to be able to make it. I think he mostly came to camp just to hang out with his former Royals coworkers, since the White Sox are now Kansas City North. I'm going to put Remillard in here because the big question is Colson Montgomery going to break camp with the team? And if so, he's definitely going to be starting and knocking DeJong or Lopez into the bench. One of the earlier guesses I had that ended up proving right was Oscar Colas. I thought he looked much improved this spring, but he has 2 option years remaining. So I thought he was a surefire bet to be sent down to just continue getting that seasoning. He really has not had a ton of AAA time. He's getting up there in age too for, you can't quite call him a future prospect type anymore. He's, I think, 26 this year, which, for a rookie, that's a little bit older. It's not ancient, of course, but yeah, he needs a little bit more seasoning down in the minors. And I'd love to see if he can take that next step in his career and make it difficult for the White Sox to keep him down. Maybe he'll find his way back up to the big leagues sooner than later. And as I'm saying this, I don't remember hearing the name Uleki Cespedes at all this spring. Has he been at camp? Is he injured? I don't know what's going on with him. We should look him up. And so backup catcher, as we see 2C over there, I'm putting Stassi in here right now. I don't know what's going to happen here. The White Sox traded to get Max Stassi. They're only paying him the league minimum. The fact that we made a trade to get him makes him a little tougher to cut, but certainly his paycheck is not something that's going to keep him on the team. Somebody else would pick him up, and somebody else would then pay the league minimum, and the White Sox would be completely off the hook. Fourth outfielder. Boy, it's interesting just to look back at these 2021 and 22. Mike Rodolfo was my guess 2 years ago. He's not a name that you hear much at all anymore. Adam Engel, Billy Hamilton. But so I'm going to put in Pillar. We're going to take a look at the spring training numbers together, and I'm going to see if I'll make any adjustments to these. But right off the bat here, this is where I'm going. And I'm going to skip additional bench pieces right now. Oh yeah, Danny Mendick. Danny Mendick is a name I forgot. I think we do have to put him on there. He probably has the edge over Zach Remillard as our utility player. Starting pitching, I would not have guessed this at all, but Garrett Crochet as our number 1. Not going to call him an ace. I hope he surprises me. I really, really do. He's a talented young kid, but I just don't know if he can handle that innings load, that workload of being a starting pitcher. I was thinking Sorotka or Fetty would be number 1, so I'm just going to switch them both down here. And to me, it's a coin toss between each of them because they're both guys that have potential. I think the White Sox invested very heavily in lottery tickets this year, which can be exciting when somebody hits, but they usually don't hit, which is why it's a lottery ticket. The idea that Eric Fetty, Mike Soroka, and Chris Flexen all pan out, it's just not going to happen. I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, but yeah, I just don't see it happening. And a name that I forget often, and I don't know if I spelled it right, but Tuki Toussaint, I'm thinking he's our number 5 right now. There's lots of prospects that are knocking on the door, which is exciting. The last few years, spring training has been wonderfully boring, where mostly the only question marks are like who do we have on the bench? Who was the last guy in the bullpen? And that's such a luxury when you have a really solidly built team and it's kind of locked in, nothing to worry about. We are grasping at straws already, and I am worried how I'm going to do right now predicting the bullpen, because most of our previous bullpen was traded off and in moves that I think were mostly great. Kendall Graveman gone, and he's turns out he's injured this year after all, but we get Corey Lee for him, who is, I think, our catcher of the future, and he's having a great spring. Aaron Bummer, I like the guy a lot. He's got electric stuff that is impossible, it seems, for him to harness it. And what a weird curse. He gets guys to make really terrible contact, which sounds good for a pitcher. I mean, people are not really smoking the ball all over the field. They're just hitting it off the end of the bat, and the ball just rolls into that no man's land between the pitcher's mound and third base, or pitcher's mound and first base. And people get infield singles off him to death accidentally. He's been so unlucky lately. So I'm hoping for him that there's a good change of scenery, and the White Sox got a really huge haul back for that trade. So, I'm not totally sold on Chris Getz yet, and I don't love every single trade. I don't know how to react to the Dylan Cease trade yet. The Gregory Santos trade, I'm not sure about that one yet. Time will tell on these. I'm nervous about them, I guess, to say the least. But the Aaron Bummer trade I thought was a really good move. So as we look back at our opening day bullpen just a year ago, or 2 years ago now, Hendricks, Lopez, Graveman, Foster, Crochet, Bummer, Ruiz, Kimbrel, Vasquez, and Sousa. I don't know if is anybody. I mean, Crochet is starting now, and Foster's on the injured list, but everybody else is gone. I don't know who the closer is going to be. It might be, is it Williams, who we just got back from the Padres, who will have a shot at it? And let me make sure I'm even getting the right name. Wilson, not Williams. See, I'm still learning. Also, I think Tanner Banks is going to make it as a reliever for us. Oh, and of course we have Kopech. I almost forgot him, just because I'm not used to thinking about him as a reliever. But I liked it a few years back when he was a long reliever, and he would make the doubleheader starts where you're just hoping to get a couple innings out of him, to almost as an opener. We'll see. I'm excited for Kopech. I think this could be a good opportunity for him, and maybe he's able to work his way back up into fighting for the starting rotation. We might have to look at the spring training stats. It's been a crazy St. Patrick's Day. I hope everybody else had a fun time as well. Because of that, though, I've been in the dark on any White Sox news. So I'm sure that there's been another round of cuts that I'm not aware of. So we might discover some of this stuff live here together. Let's see. Nick Nastrini, I know he's a guy that's fighting for that 5th starter spot. I can't imagine that he would start the season as a reliever, but maybe. I mean, Debbie Garcia is having a good spring. I mentioned, Chad Kuhl, Jordan Leisure, Brian Shaw. Oh, yeah, Brian Shaw. What to do with Brian Shaw? The White Sox love Brian Shaw, and he's a veteran. I think, again, this isn't the White Sox I necessarily want, but I'm just trying to guess what the front office is going to do. Brian Shaw seems to be beloved among the White Sox front office, so I'm guessing he's going to make it. Jesse Chavez, I do love me a good veteran presence, but he's not had a great spring. Probably Padilla, right? I mean, Padilla's a starter. Actually, Brebbia. Wait, where's Brebbia? I don't think I saw his name. In Hill. Just remembering some guys that we signed earlier in the offseason that I'm completely forgetting. Tim Hill and Jonathan Brebbia signed major league deals, so they should be in. Is Brebbia injured? I'm not seeing him anywhere. And how about Hill? Okay, 6 appearances, 6 innings, 150 ERA. Very small sample, of course, but we'll take it. Okay, so here's Woodford, who I didn't realize had such a long. It's coming back to me. I forgot that he has a long history in the bigs. I mean, a little bit of a few appearances a year for many years since 2017. He's compiled a total of 33 appearances, but on a White Sox staff that was completely traded away, he's one of the more experienced possibilities. So we will add him. And Leisure, Jordan Leisure was somebody that I was thinking earlier, and then he fell out of my mind when it came time to record this video. All right, Jordan Leisure, who came over in the Lance Lynn Joe Kelly trade last year. We're gonna say he breaks camp with the Sox. Okay, so I'm looking at this now, counted everybody up, and I've got one more space for a bench player or a pitcher. Um, so the question to me, because we have a fourth outfielder in Pilar, we've got Danny Mendick and Zach Remillard. Boy, I think that's probably going to go to a pitcher at this point. So I guess I will go down here. I think Chad Kuhl. I'm curious about Brebbia. What's going on? Why he hasn't pitched this spring? He might be injured. So if he's injured, I guess I'll go Devi Garcia. Nothing is really blowing me away. And now we're going to take a look. See how many of the guys I picked have already been cut from the spring training team. Okay, and before we look at anything else, I do want to look at some offensive stats just to see who is getting the longer look and maybe somebody that I forgot. So sort this by at bats. Oh, yeah, somebody that I definitely want to talk about, Gavin Sheets. Where does he fit? The White Sox are trying to get more defensive, better defensively, and he definitely doesn't fit. It's nice to see that the White Sox are giving him a longer look. And, I mean, come on base plus slugging over 1,000. He's making the most of his time. I still just don't see him getting regular at bats, regular playing time. Maybe the White Sox are trying to build him up to build a little bit of trade value for him. At the end of the day, bat first, slower sluggers, they're not super rare, so there's not going to be a ton of demand. He is a lefty bat. That's something that the White Sox have been searching for so long. And so it's nice to have that lefty option. I should be paying attention to that when I'm looking at filling out the bench and filling out the bullpen. I've not been considering righty lefty at all. But let's see here. Yes, so there's Dominic Fletcher. Again, like I said, I thought maybe he's a guy that's playing himself out of a job here. 159 batting average. I know it's only spring, relatively small sample size, but still, these are the times you have to show that you're ready to go. Eloy, Pilar, Benintendi, Luis, Moustakis, Mendick, Brendan Shoemake. I've liked seeing him play. He's a very new addition to the team, but yeah, only batting 219, and I hear he just got injured, so definitely not going to be making it. I don't think he was counted on to make the team anyway. Brett Phillips there batting just 222. Rafael Ortega, he's an exciting youngster that I could see him taking some steps forward in the near future. Colson Montgomery, I'm really surprised that he's only had 20 at bats. But yeah, I think there you have it. Nobody else, as I'm going through these. Oh, he appeared in one game, did not get an at bat. He pinch ran and scored. Interesting. I'm surprised he didn't get a longer look because he did have a really nice year in the minors last year. Lenine Sosa is another guy that I just think the moment has passed for him. Prove me wrong, please. Jose Rodriguez is going to be a big leaguer and a regular member of this team in the near future, but just not this year. Same with Edgar Cuero, maybe late season call up. White Sox have some exciting young catchers. Adam Hackenberg is another one. Brian Ramos, he has been fun to watch. This is, the great time, the great thing about spring training is getting a better, longer look at some of these youngsters. Brian Ramos, he might be a guy that the White Sox, if Yoan does not improve and makes it very easy for the White Sox to just not pick up his option for next year, Brian Ramos might be a guy that's ready to play as our opening day third baseman next year. I'm wishing for the best for Yoan, but if things don't work out, Ramos is probably going to be the guy next year. So, okay, let's see news and releases. One roster move. Okay, Jonathan Cannon sent down. 48 players remaining at press time. Oh, there's doing it one at a time. Jared Schuster, Nick Padilla. Oh, I almost picked Padilla. to be the last man in the bullpen. Usually the roster cuts are a little bit bigger, but this is one at a time. Lenine Sosa, Bailey Horn sent down. That was an interesting trade, by the way. Matthew Thompson, somebody I was just building up, thinking that he is going to be a starter in the near future, and then he gets traded away for Bailey Horn. It would have made sense if Bailey Horn they thought was definitely going to be in the bullpen to start the season. I'm not opposed to him being sent down. He is still a talented pitcher that the White Sox will probably see later this year. Going all the way back to March 8th, I think this was the first round of cuts. Sent down Oscar Colas, Davis Martin. Oh, that's the name I should put on the injured list because he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. I cannot wait to have him back. And I know I'm acting as if he is a Chris Sale at his peak level pitcher, but I was just impressed with what we saw from him in his handful of starts that he's gotten over the last couple of years. To me, he pitched like a veteran. He just seemed to be poised and professional, and not shaken too badly when he gave up some hits. Sammy Peralta, another good player that we'll see in the future. Jose Rodriguez sent down to Double A. Cousin and Jake Eder, who definitely they're far off. Sent to minor league camp. Kai Bush, Eliard, Hackenberg, Navarro, Quiero, Lane Ramsey. Lane Ramsey, I like. We saw Lane Ramsey a bit last year, and he's somebody that I wouldn't have been surprised make the big league bullpen out of camp. So yeah, last year appeared in 21 games, 5.85 ERA. Again, this is just the beginning of his career. His FIP 3.46. I still wouldn't be surprised. I'm surprised the White Sox reassigned him to minor league camp that quickly. Because yeah, not too shabby. Well, I guess I'll keep Brebbia in the bullpen for the moment. Okay, so looking at things, I realize I have one too many players. So I'm gonna put Chad Kuhl in for Devi Garcia. Devi Garcia doesn't make it. Kuhl does. Also, just looked up that Brebbia has a strained calf. He is pitching to live batters now, but that was just yesterday. It sounds like he is, in my opinion, probably likely to start on the injured list. He's not there yet. He's not actually on the injured list, but I would guess that Brebbia is not going to be ready for opening day. He'll start on the injured list, and Devi Garcia will take that spot. So that is my guess right now. Let me know what you think, what you would do differently if it were up to you. I certainly have a couple of different changes I would want to make. And then I guess the other big question is Gavin Sheets. Does he make the team? I mean, looking at Gavin Sheets' year last year, just 10 home runs. You know, we have him 4 home runs. He got 300 at-bats, which is basically a half a season's worth. But yeah, just 10 home runs. He was worth -1.5 WAR. He's a guy you don't expect to be a good batting average guy. But if you're batting 203 and you're not providing the power, that's the one reason he's on the team. So, you know, I'm ready to move on from Gavin Sheets. I've never been a big fan of the bat first slugging type of guys, the Adam Dunn type guys. So yeah, in my opinion, and especially knowing that the White Sox are really prioritizing being a more well-rounded team, I think Gavin Sheets doesn't make it, and I don't exactly know what that then means for him. According to Fangraphs, Gavin Sheets actually does have a minor league option remaining, so he could stay within the team, stay on the club, and be sent down to the minors. So maybe that's what the White Sox do. And just wanted to check myself from earlier. I looked it up. Yes, Andrew Benintendi was worth exactly 0.0 WAR. So he was a replacement level player last year. That's crazy. Just 5 home runs. He's a former Gold Glover, and I think that the metric said that he took a step back defensively last year. I think he's going to rebound. I think he's going to have a better year. I don't think he's going to be an all-star. I don't think he's going to be an amazing player next year, but I think he will have a bounce back of some sort. Looking at some of the projections saying basically 8 to 12 home runs, batting averages from the mid 260s to the mid 270s, and a WAR that is actually a huge increase from 0 all the way ranging from 1 to 1.7. And after a 0 WAR last year, I'll take that 1.5 or so. I have waited. Let's take a look at the projections from Fangraphs for what teams will do this year. I know they really squeeze to not have teams pass 100 wins or losses. All right, so diving into this, we see the Braves projected for 97 wins. over the Dodgers 93, which is a little surprising to me. I really thought the Dodgers adding Shohei, adding Yamamoto, that they would have the highest projection, but the Braves are such a great team. 90 wins for the Astros, 88 only for the Yankees, 86 for the Rays, 85 for the Mariners and Phillies and Orioles. Yeah, I love that Orioles team. I'd love to see them do better. So the Twins are the first AL Central team, projected for just 84 wins. They could win the division with 84 wins. Diamondbacks only 83. That's the biggest surprise I've seen on here so far. A team that won the NL pennant last year, and ideally is just getting better. 83 wins only projected. We have the Cardinals at 83. Is that the first NL Central team? Yeah. Projecting the Cardinals to have 83 wins, and that be the most in the NL Central. So maybe the AL Central isn't the worst division anymore. Actually, I don't think that's true. I really do think the Central has better teams than that. And I think the Cardinals will do better than 83 wins. I think the Reds will do better than 83 wins. Giants at 83, Padres at 82, so just barely over 500. For the Rangers, they won the World Series last year, and they're predicting 82 wins. Wow. Cubs at 82, Red Sox 81. There's your 500 team. Marlins and Mets at 80. Man, the Mets, as much as the White Sox deservedly get looked down on for their terrible year last year, at least they didn't spend $1 billion as the Mets did to have a terrible season. Brewers, they're saying 80. I think the Brewers will do better. I know there are some questions with their starting pitching. I loved the Rhys Hoskins signing for them. I really thought he was going to end up going to the Cubs, and then the Cubs maybe trading Morel, which would have been pretty interesting to see what would have happened there. Reds 79 wins. I don't agree with that at all. I know TJ Friedel just went down with injury, but there's so many good players over there. The Brewers, the Reds, there's no way they'll have only 79 wins. Guardians at 79, Tigers at 79. Boy, what a mediocre division. Angels at 78. I'm really wondering what's going to happen. The Anaheim is just, again, one of the most poorly run front offices, in my opinion, for roster construction that I've seen maybe in my life, because it's gone on for a decade. You have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. You have the two best players alive at the same time in their peaks, and you can't get to the playoffs. What? Pirates 77. They're an exciting up and coming team. I could see them beating that. Royals at 76. A's. Oh my gosh, we're below the A's. A's at 73. That seems optimistic, to be honest with you. The A's have not tried to do anything, and if they have anybody of value on their team, they will get traded off mid-season. So I don't think the A's will have 73 wins. White Sox at 67. All right, we're not predicted to be the worst. 67 and 95, which I hate to say it, but that's a step in the right direction. I would love for the White Sox to avoid another 100 loss season. It seems really hard to do with the pitching staff that we have right now. Nationals, 66 wins, and then the Rockies with just 64 wins and 98 losses. Yeah, it's hard to pull for those teams at the bottom here more than they're already getting. If those teams can avoid 100 losses, they're having a good season. They're beating some expectations. And you could say the same thing about the White Sox. I think the White Sox are a better team than we're showing. However, if you don't have pitching, what good is having a decent defense and some exciting offense? And not only do we not really have pitching, we have the potential for pitching. We have young guys on the horizon that will be up soon and competitive and good. I'm excited to see what the young arms can bring to the team, even as soon as this year. Probably not immediately this year, but these call-ups are going to happen. And we're going to see some young, exciting pitching coming up. But yeah, between Flexen, Fetty, and Soraka, what will those guys have? That's why we tune in. The White Sox are not exciting in the sense that we're watching an all-star team out there, but we're exciting because there's so many mysteries. We do have Luis. He's our all-star. Will we have more than one all-star? That's a big question that right now you would have to say no. Will Corey Lee force his way into the lineup and become the number one catcher before the end of the year? My guess is yes. I'm making some bold predictions now. But who will be our closer? One of the worst things I think for a young team is when it's hard to win, when you have to scrape together and probably overcome the bad pitching to go into the ninth inning with a lead, only to have it slip away. That is a backbreaker. And so I hope the White Sox do find some stability at the back of the pen. Maybe it's Michael Kopech. Maybe it's somebody else from the minors getting called up. I don't know. But that's one of the bigger question marks in a world with a ton of question marks. So anyway, let me know what questions you might have. Let me know what you think differently about this roster makeup. So I'm looking forward to seeing how wrong I am. And yeah, I love to own up to those mistakes. That's why I like to do the critiquing the Fangraphs predictions, which I hate how often they end up being right. We took a look at all the teams together, lumped together, but here they are within their divisions. The Yankees winning by basically 2 games over the Rays, then the Orioles, Blue Jays, and Red Sox in dead last, but still playing 500 baseball, which of course we know that's such a tough division. The way it's stacked up right now, 88, 86, 85, 84, and 81 wins, a couple of wins here or there changes that division entirely. The AL Central looking miserable with only one team above 500, and that being the Twins, and that being just a little bit above 500. They also got some pretty bad injury news lately that's affecting their pitching staff, including their amazing closer, Johan Duran, who I like a lot. I mean, I also hate a lot if he's coming in against the White Sox, but he's a stellar pitcher that is going to start the season on the injured list. I don't think it's going to be a major injury, but it's something that we'll have to keep an eye on all season long. In the West, the Astros, I hate the Astros winning again. I don't know why the Rangers are only predicted to win 82 games. Yes, they did lose Jordan Montgomery. I mean, we guess he might come back. We don't know. He's has no idea where he's going yet. And in the NL East, we've got the Bravos running away with it over the Phillies. In the NL Central, a team with a division with a ton of parity. 83 to 87 wins is the difference between first place and last place, with the Cards eking out a small victory over the second place Cubs. And then in the NL West, the Dodgers are running away with it, 10 wins better than the Diamondbacks and the Giants. And of course, the Giants just picked up Snell. I don't have a lot of faith in the Giants, to be honest with you. So I think 83 wins sounds about right, even with Snell on the team. But I think the Diamondbacks can beat that 83 win projection. Padres at 82. I don't have a lot of faith in the Padres. They have Cease now, which is great for them. But yeah, I don't really see them. I could see them being a 500 or less team. So that leaves the wild card teams being the Phillies is the number 1, and then Diamondbacks and Giants duking it out for the number 2 or 3 position, and the Cubs for the second year in a row, just barely not making it in. In the American League, you've got the Rays with the number 1 seed, and then the Orioles and the Mariners duking it out for the number 2 or 3 seed, with the Blue Jays being the team as the odd man out. All right, so those are the predictions, both for me guessing the roster and Fangraphs predicting the season. Let me know what you all think. Look forward to doing more of these. Definitely leave comments. I will be responding to them. But as always, play ball and come on, let's go White Sox.